Balochistan Student Organization organized a press conference in Toronto North South Library in order to highlight the plights of abducted Baloch in the hands of Pakistan Army. They arranged this press conference on the third year's disappearance of Baloch leader Zahid Baloch. Exiled Baloch student leader Karima Baloch briefed the press about human rights violations in Balochistan.
Thank you for joining us today in this briefing on Balochistan and human rights. My name is Karima Mehrab and I am the chairperson of Baloch Student Organization Azad. Formed in 1967, the BSO has campaigned for education, development of Balochi as mother language and medium of instruction, and the political rights of the Baloch people in the Pakistan-occupied Balochistan. Since its inception, Pakistan's military establishment has considered BSO as one of its top opponents and has often resorted to punitive measures against its members. And since 2005, in continuation of its anti-Baloch policy, Pakistan's armed forces targeted the leadership of BSO with unlawful arrests and disappearances to put a halt to the organization's peaceful protests and on-campus campaigns. Thousands of Baloch political activists, including hundreds of our members and students, have been taken away by the army and kept at secret locations for months and years. All such illegally abducted persons are subject to inhuman physical and mental torture. They are commonly called the Baloch missing persons. Just when we thought that our lives could not get more tragic and military initiated the infamous kill and dump operations against our members and other Baloch activists, Pakistan Army soldiers and their death squads systematically pick up Baloch rights activists from their homes, public transport services, university, colleges, and some cases from hospitals and dump their tortured and bullet-riddled bodies months or years later. The Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, and the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan have profiled dozens of Baloch victims of enforced disappearances and the kill and dump operations. Mass graves were discovered in the Huzdar district of Balochistan in April 2014, and a total of 179 bodies were unearthed. And recently, more mass graves have been found in the Derabukti area of Balochistan, which provides evidence of mass killings of civilians by the Pakistan security forces and their death squads. Our organization's former chairman Zahid Baloch was abducted by the Pakistani military intelligence personnel on March 18, 2014 from Quetta, Balochistan. I am a witness to the abduction of my leader, who was pushed into an unmarked vehicle in the presence of the paramilitary soldiers of the Frontier Corps and whisked away. And to this day, colleagues, friends, and family members are unaware of his whereabouts. And today, 3 years after his abduction, Zahid Baloch is still missing. The Pakistani state forces and the so-called elected government are in complete denial of the incident. They have even denied Zahid's existence as a person. His second son, Kambar, who is now 4 years old, has no recollection of his father's memories. The third son, Suleiman, who will be celebrating his third birthday in the next 4 months, was born after Zahid Baloch's abduction. Along with their mother, his children have spent months outside various press clubs in different cities of Pakistan in the hope that it will somehow help bring back their father. Zahid's story is not unique. The agony his family has gone through is also a common everyday experience of Baloch families. In today's Balochistan, every other family has a similar story to tell. Zakir Majid, former vice chairman BSO Azad and a student of Balochistan University, was taken away by the Pakistan Army soldiers on June 8, 2009. He is missing for the last 7 years. His sister Fazana Majid walked thousands of kilometers along with the families of other Baloch missing persons from Quetta to Islamabad to highlight the issue of Balochistan's disappeared youth. Unfortunately, such peaceful protests and helpless voices have fallen on deaf ears in Pakistan, ruled by its powerful army with puppet civilian parliaments and rubber stamp courts. Dear media persons, it is important to mention here that the dramatic increase in the human rights violation in the recent times and directly related to the takeover of Balochistan's deep sea port of Gwadar by China. The strategic alliance between China and Pakistan and the investment of $46 billion by Beijing to build naval bases and airport for military expansion in the Arabian Sea is being strongly opposed by Baloch people. China is equally responsible for the war crimes and crimes against humanity in Balochistan today along with the Pakistan army. In the absence of any significant pressure from the United Nations and democratic governments of the world, Pakistan's military has intensified its operation in Balochistan, where foreign journalists are not allowed to visit and local journalists cannot do any meaningful coverage of atrocities for the fear of being killed. Balochistan has been called one of the most dangerous places in the world by the international journalist rights groups. Sabine Mahmood, woman rights activist and campaigner for the voiceless in society, courageously hosted an event on Balochistan in Karachi. She could not even make it to her home and was killed by volley of bullets while still seated in her car. In these circumstances, you don't even have to be a Baloch rights activist to go missing or get target killed. By simply being an ethnic Baloch is enough to become a victim of army's kill and dump policy. Earlier this month, the Pakistani military bombed a house in the Alandur village of district Keech in Balochistan, seriously wounding a pregnant woman, Fatima, and killing her father-in-law. On the eve of March 8, 2017, the International Women's Day, over 2 dozen Baloch women were abducted from Balochistan's Awaran district, and the incident was completely blacked out in the Pakistani media because of the remoteness of those villages. Journalists and rights activists are unable to get information from the families of the disappeared women. Respected members of the press, you live in a democratic country where do you not have to fear for your life when you write or spoke the truth. We urge you to help highlight the humanitarian crisis in Balochistan. It really helps. It helps a lot. It saves lives. We have experienced it firsthand whenever there has been some media coverage on atrocities in Balochistan in the international press, the frequency of killings and disappearances decreased. I thank you again for being present here today, listening to the painful stories of our lives. Thank you so much.
The organization showed a documentary about Balochistan situation as well.
Zahid Baloch is a student and the ex-chairman of Baloch student organization Azad. He was abducted by Pakistan's secret agency from satellite town Quetta on March 18, 2014. It's been 1,095 days since his abduction, and his whereabouts are still unknown. Karima Baloch, chairperson of BSO Azad, along with 3 other central leaders, are eyewitnesses of Zahid's abduction. Zahid is a resident of Nal, district Kuzdar, and the son of Ilahi Baksh. He completed his basic education from high school Nal in Kuzdar. He continued his higher education in Karachi. Zahid Baloch was a student of political science at the University of Karachi.
जी मेरा नाम जाहिद बलोच है। मैं BSO आज़ाद का सेक्रेटरी जनरल हूँ और कराची यूनिवर्सिटी में पढ़ता हूँ। BS पॉलिटिकल साइंस का स्टूडेंट हूँ।
But he left his studies when Pakistan started its kill and dump policy against Baloch political leaders and activists. 6 months before his abduction, he said in an interview with Shah Zeb, correspondent of the BBC, that Pakistani forces have abducted and killed many of his friends, and if he was caught, he too will be abducted and killed.
Pakistani soldiers have tortured and killed several of my comrades, and when they find me, they will kill me too. But that's not going to stop our struggle for a free Balochistan.
Karima Baloch revealed his abduction a month later during a press conference at the Karachi Press Club on April 22, 2014. She announced worldwide demonstrations for the safe recovery of Zahid Baloch.
मैं यहाँ आप सहाफ़ी हज़रात के सामने इस वाक़े की मुकम्मल तफ़सीलात पेश करने आई हूँ। 18 मार्च 2014 को बलूच स्टूडेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन आज़ाद के मरकज़ी चेयरमैन जाहिद बलोच तंजीमी कामों के सिलसिले में बलूचिस्तान के शहर कोयटा में मौजूद थे और बलूच तलबा से राब्ते में रहकर उनकी सियासी और फिक्री तरबियत में मसरूफ़ अमल थे। लेकिन उनके इस जमहूरी और कुरान जद्दोजहद से खाए पाकिस्तानी खुफिया इदारे ने टैक्सी के हमरा शाम 5 बजे छापा मार कर उन्हें जिबरी तौर पर अगवा करके लापता कर दिया। खुफिया इदारों के एहलकारों ने इंतहाई सख्ताना अंदाज में पकड़कर एक ब्लैक कलर की सख्त गाड़ी में डाल दिया, जिसके आगे और पीछे पंचर बोर की गाड़ियां थीं। उस वाक़े के चश्मदीद गवाहान मुझ समेत BSO आज़ाद के दीगर 3 जिम्मेदार अफराद हैं, जिसकी गवाही देने के लिए हम आलमी अदालत इंसाफ समेत दुनिया की किसी भी अदालत के सामने पेश होने को तैयार हैं।
Latif Johar, central leader of BSO Azad, went on a hunger strike resulting in near death for the safe recovery of Zahid Baloch. Zarjan, wife of Zahid, tried to lodge a first information report in satellite town Quetta police station. However, the police denied to file any report.
Zahid Baloch is missing, and we know nothing of his whereabouts. We have approached the satellite town Quetta police station several times to register an FIR regarding Zahid's abduction, but our requests were turned down every time. They told us clearly that they cannot register an FIR against state agencies. Then we filed a petition in Balochistan High Court, and they ordered the police to register the FIR. After this, we have approached several institutes of justice, including police and High Court, but have ended up with nothing but despair.
It was only until Zarjan submitted a court petition in High Court Balochistan did the police file a FIR on the order of the court. To this day, no one has heard from Zahid, and to make matters worse, thousands of others have been abducted. Balochistan's ex-chief minister Dr. Abdul Malik visited Latif Johar during his hunger strike. Dr. Malik knew and worked with Zahid as a political worker, however he sadly admitted that he was unable to do anything as the Pakistani army abduct as they will. Sarfaraz Bukti, the interior minister of Balochistan, denied Zahid's existence during an interview with BBC.
इस केस की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ। आई डोंट नो कि जाहिद वहाँ गया है या जाहिद बलोच नाम का आदमी इससे पहले कम से कम मेरे नॉलेज में तो मैंने इसका नाम नहीं सुना था।
However, the very next day he went on to social media with threats that everyone should learn from the abduction of Zahid Baloch. Protests and demonstrations were carried out in Balochistan and worldwide for the recovery of Zahid Baloch. Amnesty International, Asian Human Rights Commission, Human Rights Watch, International Court of Jurists, Human Rights Council of Pakistan, Baloch Human Rights Organization, and many other international human rights organizations condemned Zahid's abduction and appealed to Pakistan to take steps for his safe recovery. Instead of Zahid's safe recovery, BSO Azad and many other activists and leaders are continuing to be abducted by Pakistani forces. Shabir Baloch, Information Secretary of BSO Azad, was abducted by forces from Guarkap on October 4, 2016, and is still missing. Hassel and Kumar were abducted and unrightfully assassinated. Rasul Jan was abducted from Attasha Degree College, Turbat, and then killed. Zakir Majid was abducted in June of 2009 and is still missing. Raza Jahangir was killed on August 14, 2013. Similarly, Kambar Chakr, Ilyas Nizar, Qayyum Baloch, Shafi Baloch, and hundreds of other members were abducted and killed. Due to the silence of international organizations in democratic countries, Pakistan is not releasing the abductees, nor has it stopped killing Baloch political workers, leaders, human rights activists, and educators. The Pakistani military is running a mere policy as applied in Bangladesh in 1971 in terms of abductions and murders of a marginalized minority. We appeal to the civilized world to end their silence and help us in the recovery of thousands of abducted Baloch people, including Zahid Baloch.
Zafar Baloch, President, Baloch Human Rights Council Canada, made it clear to Canadian press that Balochistan shall seek its independence from Pakistan.
बलूचिस्तान आज़ादी हासिल करेगा. बलूचिस्तान का फ्यूचर इसी में है. There is no democracy in that country, in Pakistan. For the last 60 years or 70 years, we have seen mostly military rules. And after that, there were breaks of so-called elections or whatever. So the representation, the political representation that really represents the people is out of the question. And plus, on top of that, Balochistan is considered by us and historically an occupied area. So in that case, Balochistan was never developed to a level where people's participation in the different institutions could be possible. So after that, on top of that, we have some political parties which are taking part in parliaments and elections and those parts in Balochistan. But the problem is that the same parties that come to power over there in Balochistan, they have reportedly stated in the parliament, in the press, in the media, that they do not have the power that comes as a mandate from the votes of the people. Once they are in power, they are just expected by Islamabad, by the army, to be puppets and to be obedient to Islamabad's policies. So, for example, the very issue of CPEC and the takeover of Gwadar by China is a largely controversial issue in Balochistan. But the Pakistani army is pressing it. And within Balochistan, the different political parties, not only the ones who are opposing Islamabad, but the ones that are sitting in the parliament also as well, are saying that CPEC and the Chinese takeover of Gwadar has nothing to do with the development of Balochistan and its people. It's not in their interest. And yet we see that by force, by the military power, it's being implemented. So by saying that there is no measure in a way, like for example, right now there's a census going on in Pakistan after many, many years. Like I think the last one was in 1998. So this census again is being challenged by Balochistan, by the people of Balochistan, by the different parties of Balochistan, which are not only opposed to Islamabad's rule over Balochistan, but also the ones who are present in the parliament. They say that this census cannot be legally conducted in Balochistan, where there has been and continuously ongoing a military oppression, where people are being displaced, have been forced to be out of their areas, their ancestral homes. So there are like thousands and thousands of tribal people who have left Balochistan for safe sanctuaries in Sindh, in Afghanistan, and other parts of the world. And most of them are not in a situation in a remote area able to take part in a census. So again, by opposing the census itself in Balochistan, that's a big, large issue. We are trying to tell the world that Balochistan is being converted into a minority. The people of Balochistan, the Baloch people, are being turned into a minority. And through these census, Pakistan again is trying to prove that Balochistan, the people of Balochistan in Balochistan, they are a minority and they have no right over different political and economic demands that they're making. So again, the question is, there is no measure, there is no way of knowing who represents what in Balochistan. The rule is of the army and their jihadi groups and their death squads.
This press conference was an effort to create an awareness about human rights abuses by Pakistani military aggression.